Hi, everyone. I'm Perry Jones-Grossman, and welcome back to the Summit Series, How to Heal Autoimmune Disorders Without Using Meds. Now, you know, over the past couple of weeks, we've had special experts on that talk about how we can heal inside and how we can heal without using medications and really turn our lives around and help us with some of the debilitating symptoms that autoimmune disease brings to us. So today I'm very excited. We have a special guest. So it happens to be a friend of mine as well as a healer friend of mine. That's Selene Capilla. Why do I want to say Capella? Capilla. So Selene, welcome. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be on with you today.
Well, thank you, sweetie. And this is a really special summit series that we're going to be covering today because this is a healing modality that not a lot of people talk about in using with autoimmune disease. So I'm going to describe who Selene is and then what she does. And you guys might want to get your notepads out because this is going to be chock full of information. So Selene is a nationally recognized health coach specializing in brain optimization. She's helped thousands of people heal from trauma, sleeplessness, depression, PTSD, anxiety, and many other ailments using brain optimization. So we're going to be talking today about how we can heal our brain. And she's also founded InCell, which is a nonprofit that helps people heal from within naturally, exactly what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks on this summit. How do we heal naturally from within without medication and let our own bodies do some of the healing? So Selene, I am so excited because this was a relatively new type of a healing modality for me when I found you a year or so ago dealing with sleeplessness. So, and I just heard from a good friend of mine that he had a vision problem and he needed reading glasses, and he did a couple sessions with you and all of a sudden he didn't need reading glasses anymore. And then he gave me some other examples and I thought, wow, that's a pretty powerful modality. So what is brain optimization and how does it work?
Brain optimization is completely natural, non-invasive, and as you said, can be done without medication. What happens is we have these sensors that we place on the scalp. We can do a full brain map by reading these brain frequencies and seeing where the imbalances are. And then when we're actually doing the work, we can see where we need to do that. And we put the sensors on the various brain lobes of the scalp, and these sensors simply read. They listen to your brain frequencies, and they're fed into the computer, and the computer simply translates those brain frequencies into sound tones, something you can hear. Now, through this process, what's happening is an acoustic mirror is created so that the brain can see itself. Much like the brain seeing a cut on your hand, oh, brain, we need to heal the cut, it goes to task. So our brain, because it's in charge of everything, I mean everything down to a cellular level, the brain is in charge of our emotions, our behavior, our motivation, all of the automatic functioning in our bodies. So everything is controlled through, this beautiful organ we have in our body. When the brain can see itself, then it can see, we're out of balance in these areas. When the brain begins to heal and relax from stress or trauma, then the brain can optimize, and what happens is the symptoms start to go away, because keep in mind, the brain doesn't know labels. So I tell people, regardless of age, regardless of symptom or issue or whatever your doctor diagnosed you with, I don't really even have to know what a person's issue is, although it's nice and helpful to work together with them to achieve their goals. The brain doesn't discriminate. It's going to address anything and everything that's going on. I had a young boy who had alopecia, for example, and another lady who had lupus. And we worked on, that was their goal, right? And again, the brain doesn't know those labels. The brain simply works on the imbalances, and those symptoms start to drop away, and therefore the label can't exist anymore. So it's truly one of the most profound things. I mean, it's always fascinating to me because everybody's brain is unique as a fingerprint. So it continues to keep me learning and inspired, and I'm always blown away if you check out our testimonials or even on Yelp. everything's there. It's just, wow.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah, it
simple
really is. It really works. It's not a matter of if, it's
yeah.
just a matter of when, because of course we got to show up to allow the work to be done, right? And there's ways to have this done at home, or at an office, that sort of thing. But there's options for people, and that's what's so refreshing, is we have options now.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. There was something though that I found really interesting about this because I didn't necessarily understand it. I listened to the testimonies. I had friends that came to see you, and I heard their testimonies that were so powerful. I wanted to be a part of it without the understanding of how it works. Sometimes
Yeah.
just go on faith, right?
Yeah. No, and I know it's foreign. It's scary to us. Even when I started to, even do this work and become licensed and certified, I was very reluctant. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do anything that could be a placebo effect. And of course, I don't want to do anything that could mess up my brain. But
Yeah.
after I learned about it, I realized this is the real deal. And now we have the technology to learn more about our brain and to help our brain heal.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And by the way, the reason why she says that you don't necessarily have to tell her what the problem is, when I watched my son who had the circuitry in his head, and I was looking back on with you on the computer to see what his brain how it was reading, and you could tell by the waves of areas that he needed help with, some areas that were strong, some areas that were weak. And after the machine worked on him for a while and his brain started healing itself, I saw how the patterns shifted and the lines come closer together, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
if you could picture like a lifeline going up and down.
Yep.
So when they become healed, it shows. It's
Mhm.
on the data. It's not something that you can even say it's a placebo because it's scientific. I mean, the data is there. And then
Yeah.
it makes you feel differently.
Yeah, absolutely. These technologies, we have more than one, but these technologies have, like you said, graphics and graphs and data that actually shows visible evidence that, here's where the brain was and here's where it is now. And you can literally watch it play out in front of you, and it's absolutely fascinating that we can see all that. So yes, and then also this is used great for pets too, so there you go, it can't be a placebo.
I love that. I know they don't lie about anything, right? So look, thinking about people who have some debilitating symptoms that we've been talking about. Number one is chronic fatigue syndrome. Pretty
Yeah.
much there's 80 different types of autoimmune disorders. And it seems some of the, usual suspects, the symptoms that are debilitating is the pain, fatigue, and depression.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
know that using brain optimization has really helped with all three of those.
absolutely, absolutely, because again, our when, as we all know, everything in the non-physical shows up in the physical eventually, and we can actually trace how stress eventually is one of our biggest culprits for disease and illness, right? So um, obviously when we are working in the brain has areas where it needs to heal on many different levels. So as the healing is taking place on a, let's say, non-physical level, an emotional level,
Mhm.
oftentimes then the physical pain is resolved. This, again, everybody has various levels of symptoms, fatigue and lack of energy and pain, depression. Again, by allowing the brain to heal that, get it back into balance, then these symptoms start to drop away. And
Mhm.
it's truly remarkable. We worked with a lot of people with severe chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and all the different, like you said, variations,
Mhm.
and have been very successful. Sometimes, most times, we're able to do a series of sessions, and then that person, we had help them with other modalities they can use as a continual basis at home.
Mhm.
But for the most part, that really takes them over the hump. And then sometimes we go out back in for a second round if needed, but it's not always needed.
Mhm. I love that. Well, so tell us another modality that I only think I tried it one time, and that's the light therapy that I know you've been so excited about.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely. Well, it was interesting because, again, I'm always looking out for the latest brain technologies. And I actually, there was one client who fell from 3-foot lift in a Home Depot and hit his head, and it was very critical. And I needed to get rid of his inflammation. I mean, his head was about to burst, and I needed to get rid of the inflammation in his head before I wanted to work on his brain. So I was introduced, I was looking and looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, there is an infrared light cap that literally fits down on the head, and we couldn't even fit it on his head in the beginning. We had to literally, just use pads around his head until his head began to shrink down back into normal size. But that's when I realized, and this is by Inlight Medical. They create these pads that are FDA cleared to reduce pain and inflammation.
mhm.
And because the infrared light technology actually promotes nitric oxide released into the cells, which promote additional healing. And that's when I was like, wow, I can work on someone's brain, and we can work a lot on their body. I work a lot. I mean, a lot of my clients who have chronic fatigue and pain even purchase these lights for in-home use and put them on before they go to bed or first thing in the morning. And again, it keeps that inflammation down, and it reduces their pain, because when we have inflammation, everything's really tightly bundled, and the blood flow can't get in there to actually do the healing. And the healing is really rapid and phenomenal when it works like that. So I was always satisfied with the brain technology being able to help a client resolve their own health conditions, but having added the infrared light therapy into some of the healing modalities that we do has just tripled the outcome, and helped it in so many more ways. So we're really happy for that.
I love that. I know we'll have to try that next time you come to Sun Valley also. So
Yeah.
do you happen to have that close by? I don't know if you've had any of these pieces. I'd love for the viewers to see what it looks like so that they become familiar with it and don't feel like it's like, oh my gosh, what is this, alien thing? Is it going to hurt me? Is
Right.
it going to do
Right.
whatever? But
Yes.
since we see things, we have a better understanding.
Absolutely. It's coming over in just a minute.
Okay.
And what's great is, I mean, you can always go to my website, for example, and go under products. And we basically list different bundled packages or the pads individually. People who are local to us or in any one of our centers located around, various cities. I mean, we have an Onsele office in Idaho, in Sun Valley, as well as also in New York City and a
Sure.
couple key places. But most people come in and get services, and we basically place these light pads on the areas of the body. We can help open up the lymphatic system by certain placements with the light pads.
Mhm.
And then we can also, I mean, you utilize them for many different things because they come in both red and blue light, and you just essentially place them in the areas of the body where the person is experiencing an issue.
Right.
So for example, we have this is a blue and red pad,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And, let's say the person has chronic fatigue and pain. We would ask them to place it literally on the skin, so it's not going over the clothing.
Mhm.
And there's just different shapes of these pads. This one's an all red light, and putting them on the various areas of the client. And then this was the light cap that we used. Don't I look
That
lovely?
looks very chic. It looks like
I
a good ski hat for Sun Valley.
right?
Exactly.
But these lights, you put it on, there's a controller, and there's a controller because these pads need to be plugged in to the controller. And there's a 2-port controller where 2 of these pads can be plugged in at the same time, or a 6-port controller, which I always recommend because why wouldn't you want to utilize most lights? And what's amazing is anyone who purchases these lights, I mean, if they're another provider out there, I say, yes, purchase this for your own providing office if you're a massage therapist or go into Reiki or acupuncture. I mean, I encourage other people to add this in and provide this amazing technology to their clients. In addition, there is and just kind of, I don't want to go off track, so correct me here if I do.
No, I
But
think it's fascinating to see what this stuff looks like. Yeah.
right, exactly. So this is one of our home technologies for the brain optimization. Essentially, it's a little headband, and it comes with a little tablet,
Mhm.
and it's very easy to put on here.
I know.
Here we go. Someone messed with it. All right, so you just slip it on, and then you just attach it to your head, and you get a little tablet, and with this tablet you just open it up, sign in, put over whatever time span you want to work on it.
Yeah.
And my hair is a little thick. Here we go.
It works. I know I got one of those and I've used it. You know what really
Okay,
helps
there
me?
it is.
Everyone's,
So
there you go. Very beautiful. Very comfortable.
So this is another thing that if people come into our office, this is kind of like we offer this as a brain spa option where, why not keep your brain healthy, right? And what I love about this is it works the frontal poles and the temporals simultaneously, dynamically, reading your brain frequencies with these little sensors that are right here. Again, it's just reading it.
Mhm.
And then you're, again, listening to your own brain frequency being fed. And by then that naturally allows the brain to relax from stress and trauma and start to optimize. And the reason why this company developed this technology for only two is all of us always have issues in frontal poles, which is our emotional lobe, and our temporals, which the temporals controls our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system, all of our automatic functioning like sleep, digestion, the fight or flight response. So this headband is awesome, not only for keeping the brain healthy, but also a great device for, let's say someone's had a round of sessions, and anytime a person might have a little jet lag or might feel a little bit, I feel like I might be coming down with something,
Mhm.
pop it on, or maybe you just, because the holidays and you stayed out too late and you stayed out and you maybe partied too hard or your sleep got off track, you pop that on, and I'm telling you, for me, 15 minutes and I am back in the game.
No, it's truly remarkable. I've been using mine and helps a lot with the headaches, and particularly since I've had this Epstein-Barr, some of the headaches will come back and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to take all the Excedrin medicine that
Yeah, yeah,
misses.
if you can just avoid that, absolutely.
And that,
So
and that helps. Can you explain, because this was a great piece that I didn't understand until yesterday when we were talking, is how the brain optimization puts your brain in almost like a neutral position, right? And and that kind of clicked for me when you started describing it. I thought, okay, now that makes more sense, because our brain waves could be, up here, down here, way out here.
yeah.
And where we want to be is in that neutral state.
Neutrality. Okay, yes. In fact, I remember you were asking about the energy shifting modality that we offer as a service. And I said, actually, it's interesting because that does very much correlate to our brains. This day and age, we're inundated with stress everywhere. We get in the car, we have stress, on the roads, the highways, we got traffic. We go to work, we have stress. We go home, we have stress. So it's, gone are the times where we can just say, listen, time out. I'm going to take a 2-week walk in the wilderness or whatever it is. I mean, we've just got it coming from every angle. So there's these, what I call trigger points. Anytime something triggers you, it could be your neighbor's dog. It could be a jealousy. It could be a fear. These things cause stressors in our brain, in our life, right? And when we constantly are triggered by different things, that puts a lot of stress on the brain, which then in turn starts to show up in the body.
Yeah.
We have this it's basically quantum physics, where we utilize quantum physics to help a person neutralize those charges. It doesn't mean that they will love the barking dog, but it will neutralize them being triggered in a stressful way of that barking dog sound. You know what I mean? They'll be in neutrality. So therefore, those stressors stop impacting their brain and as also their bodies. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally did. It really helped just for me to have, wrap my brain literally around it and kind of understanding, no pun intended there, but
I know I constantly say that stuff too. I'm like, this is mind blowing. I'm like, oh,
it's pretty funny. Well, what else would you recommend as far as, you mentioned something else too. So you had a trifecta.
yes, it's, you know, more and more as I worked with the brain for over 10 years, I'm just like, wow, I ran into a few clients where I really was challenged and I'm like, there's got to be something else going on in here. And I mean, of course, this was years ago. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, the brain and the gut are connected. That's
Mhm.
why sometimes people say I have a gut feeling, or
Yeah.
the brain and the gut. So we need to make sure that our guts, our brain is getting the proper nutrients that it needs. And where is that going to be getting it from? It's going to be getting it from our gut, right?
Right.
And you hear a lot of times people talk about a leaky gut syndrome,
Right.
and that's really where the gut is literally leaking into our body and our bloodstream, and of course that comes into our brain and causes other issues. So it happened once when I was watching this client. I'm like, we've completely balanced your brain. I mean, your brain looks it's getting a score of an A across all brain lobes. What's going on? And she'd get better for a little bit, but then she'd just revert back. And when I realized what was happening, it was causing the brain toxins from the gut. So
Mm.
we offer, now I really am careful to really vet products and technologies before I really kind of offer them, and that's why I don't offer a lot on our website. But there's a micronutrient from True Hope, and this micronutrient is basically, I see people taking sometimes. I ask people, I'm like, okay, what meds do you take? Okay, great. You'll be able to wean yourself off or literally eliminate those medications through the brain work that we do. And then they'd also talk to me about, oh, well, I'm taking vitamin D and vitamin E and I'm taking this and that. And they end up, having like 15 other jars of some sorts of, and I love that it's natural, but at the same time, it's shocking how many other types of supplements we take, natural supplements, etc. And I love this micronutrient because, you can take one in the breakfast and one for lunch. And then sometimes we muscle test people because sometimes people need a little bit more. And this helps ensure that the proper nutrients, I usually tell people you can get rid of all of that other stuff and just take this one micronutrient because it's so dense. And there's done a lot of clinical studies you'll see on not only our website, but also the True Hope website. And it's FDA approved, and they've had clinical studies and research that it helps with so many different mental illnesses and autoimmune diseases and other types of diseases like Parkinson's and other types of things. So I'm a huge fan of that because, if we are even eating really healthy, if I take an orange today, the quality and the nutritional value of that orange today, I'd have to eat 20 of those oranges to get the nutritional value of we had it even 10 years ago, right? So this is really important piece to make sure, that's why I say about the trifecta is like we've always had the brain optimization, which has always been so powerful and amazing, but by adding in the light therapy and adding in the micronutrients, that was been just like, wow, triple power.
That's so great, though. And I think so many things are changing now. And this is
Yeah.
autoimmune disease, and even having immunologists is relatively new.
Yeah.
We're in an epidemic. I mean, I've shared the numbers before. It's like over 100 million Americans alone, over
Yeah.
700 million worldwide,
Yeah.
and 78% of them are women.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
and we
Yeah.
forget that we need to take care of our brains in the way
Mhm.
that we do. And I think, more and more technology, more education and awareness is coming out for us to learn how to do that. Well,
Yeah.
how can people, so if they live in Alabama Okay, someone's watching, they live in Alabama, they live in Oregon, and they're not part of the 3 cities that you're in. How can they reach out to you to get some help or find somebody? What would they look for?
Okay. So yeah, I'd first probably start with a consultation to see exactly what they need.
Hmm.
Maybe it could be something by, simply purchasing something for their own in-home use. Um, and maybe they would want to fly to one of our locations, or we can fly to them. That's how I started up. Even having other offices is sometimes it made more sense for me to go to the client and do the services there. And what's great is, this is how I'm so excited about, is that then I can train other providers in those areas if I see that there's, a greater interest or a longevity to it. So I would say it all starts, everybody's situation will be unique, and everybody's budget is also unique. And I love the fact that we have um, a nonprofit, so we can get oftentimes funding, or person can donate and know that, hey, great, I have a tax write-off and I'm helping somebody, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of different ways. We never like to have money get in the way, but there's a lot of different solutions, whether it's someone purchasing the light pads or the headband, or going to a provider near them. And I love working in conjunction with other providers. So as I do the consultation and I see, what, you could really benefit from this particular brain technology. It's worked well on others. I think it will work well on you. And there is a provider in Alabama that provides that. Absolutely. I'm one of those people. We need to work together. There's no sense in my bones of competition. So that's really the way I roll.
I love that because I know you've helped a lot of my clients too with
Thank
my
you. Yeah.
coaching. Some of my clients that were dealing with different ailments. That wasn't my specialty, and that's how I work as well, is to have people, you have certain experts, people that know this, and you want to have people heal in certain areas. You can't help them in all areas. So
Right.
it
Right.
does
We need to
take
work
a
together a
village.
lot of times.
Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
does take a village. Well, I
Yes.
so appreciate you being on the show today and sharing and explaining, and I'm sure introducing a lot of people to this new technology. And you also have a special opt-in and gift that you want to offer our viewers. So I'm going to let you explain that.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to offer our viewers a 30-minute consultation and coaching session. We will also offer free meditation audios that were designed by myself, and you can download them to your cell phone. They're just very short audios on meditation, all guided. And we also have one other gift, which is our Onsele forecast, which is nothing to do with astrology, but everybody has an energy. We're all made up of energy and an energy flow. So it will guide you as to your own personal energy flow. So you'll know, when is the right time to take certain actions and when's the best time to hold off until tomorrow, per se. And I guess in closing, I do want to just really say, I think it's so important for everybody to know that we have options. We have always known we've had, our Western medicine, right? And this is wonderful, as, Piri, thank you, because you're introducing an option for people, and it's alternative medicine, it's natural medicine. And it's mind-blowing to me that when we can bring the two together. I mean, there's importance to both, because one situation happened when I was in the hospital, Santa Monica, with a client, and the mother was essentially told, or the family was said, that your mother is brain dead. So this was Monday, and they were going to pull her life support on Friday.
Mm.
And the family wanted to make sure, absolutely unequivocally, they did everything they could um, outside of the box of normal traditional medicine. They brought me in, and I did the sensors on the head, and we were able to see that all brain lobes had activity. But just because they had activity, I wasn't sure how quickly her brain would respond. 4 days is not a lot of time
Yeah.
for someone who's had a stroke, who's in a coma, who's paralyzed, would have, a much response. Normally, something like that, I would have actually expected maybe a month or two, right? But we saw through, again, the data we saw on the computer, live feedback that, yes, this brain is responding. We actually could start to see improvements within the first few minutes that her brain was making. And the family was really upset and furious, and they brought the two doctors in the room, and they're like, look, how come she's saying this? And this is what you told us, and this is what she's saying to us. And in very respectful way, they said, we don't have access to what she has access to. And she doesn't have access to what we have. And that was a perfect example of if we could just work together, and wow, our world would open up so much. We need each other, and we don't, there's such a place for us both.
I love that. I love that you had some conventional doctors that, said, hey, we don't have access to that
Hmm.
type of information.
Technology, right, exactly.
And
And
how great for our patient, right? We had a
yeah,
different result.
yeah,
Which is,
absolutely.
and I
Oh,
agree with you. I don't think there's any room or reason to have to do any conventional medicine doctor bashing whatsoever.
oh, never. No, absolutely not.
And I think alternative medicine and functional doctors, they work hand in hand. And
Yes,
we should remember is not alienate either one of them, because you never,
correct.
you know,
Exactly.
maybe a pill would work for this symptom and brain optimization for another one, and meditation. You want it all, right?
Right.
You want to
Yeah,
have whatever you heal with.
absolutely. And every doctor I know, and hopefully every doctor out there, wants the best for their patients. So they don't need them or want them to be on a medication for the rest of their life.
No.
Medications sometimes cause other issues, right? And then you have to have another medication for that. But medication is there because it's needed. A lot of doctors will have it there for a temporary time if they have the option to weaning them off, or, they're able to get them off, they do, and that's why it's encouraging.
Yeah.
I know if I had an accident out on the highway, I would want a medical doctor to put my guts back into my body. And obviously it'd have to be on some sort of a medicine for a little while, but overall I'd want to have the ability to move off of them, because I want to be healed from the inside out, not just band-aided.
Right. Exactly. Not just healing the symptoms.
Correct.
I love it. Thank you so much, sweetie.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. This is such a privilege and an honor, and I'm so grateful to you and all the work that you do. Thank you to you.
Oh, thank you, honey. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Isn't that interesting? Brain optimization. So look into it. Try to find Selene. It's on Selene. It's ensele.com, right?
Correct. Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Here. And reach out to her. She's offered us some beautiful gifts and opportunities to learn more. So be sure and take us up on it. All right, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time. Go and make it a great day. See you later. Bye.
Bye.